But the main audience, the main target of Operation Sindoor was Indian electorates. That's why India never had the ambition of going to war with Pakistan. It is because of the Indian media that makes Donald Trump look like a hero. It shows the world that now China is not only going ahead in terms of arms, but also even the quality of arms, the missiles, the jet fighters. So now almost all it is a very good advertisement for Chinese arms companies. That's why if you look at the Indian media, it sensationalizes everything. It blows things out of proportion. It does not have any fear regarding spreading lies and misinformation, even on big billboard hoarders. It is not the Indian army that you see in the posters of Operation Sindoor, but you see the Prime Minister wearing the Indian Air Force jumpers, and then behind me this Indian jet fighter. Yeah, so it's like a slap. It's like an insult to our army. It's like an insult to our Air Force.
Hello viewers, welcome to Fort Nagaland News. Amian, apne inja alag alag khobor ina itha janisna. Ajibi aro man yate icha. Amiana nation aro ene world hulibi tu icha sobse kotha dangor chuli thaga do India और पाकिस्तान में जो है itu झमेला चली थेगा तो itu lo boda si dorna ajibi aina ame kotha go thega to Professor Salikyu, Dr. Salikyu, he is the associate professor at Tetsu College there, an expert in geopolitics there, sir. So welcome once again, thank you so much.
Thank you once again.
Sir, Ajiman, we'll go directly to the topic, especially regarding this ceasefire. Now, ceasefire
ceasefire, it was ceasefire though I believe because both India and Pakistan never had the intention of going to full-blown war. Because if you look at it, India had a very limited operation. That is just to make sure that they attack the terrorists, and it cannot escalate from there. And Pakistan also had to retaliate with whatever they did, with drone attacks, whatnot. It was obvious that they're going to do that. So there was, from the beginning, India or Pakistan war, full-blown war, the question did not even arise. So now the ceasefire is being taken from a very different, is seen as a very negative thing from the perspective of India. India amahan very important geostrategist. He's a professor of geostrategy in Center for Policy Research, Chelani. He is accusing the government of this is his word. He is snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, right? But then I admire Professor Chelani, but then his views are kind of misplaced because he did not understand the main objective behind why Operation Sindoor was even initiated in the first place. Because for him, he is a very India India all these things is there. But then what he forgot to, in a sense, what he neglected was that the reason why I'm talking about Professor Chalan is because he's a very important figure in terms of strategy, and then his words carry lots of weight in Indian media. So to say that the government of India is more or less like it was a defeat for India was because he did not see that the main objective behind Operation Sindoor was not the world, was not Pakistan, was not even the terrorists. It was to a minimal extent, but the main audience, the main target of Operation Sindoor was Indian electorates. That's why India never had the ambition of going to war with Pakistan. But then, in the end, in a sense, it backfired. Not the operation. Operation was successful, and the aims are achieved. But then, in achieving that aim, India also exposed its weakness. And that is the main, and in a sense, the Operation Sindoor actually backfired for India. So yeah, that's.
So, regarding China and US,
Yeah,
their role.
yeah.
Bal was actually to like if you think about it, uh, are they in the winning side or is India or
Right now,
Pakistan?
right. Very good question. The thing is, India, among Sileto, it seems like Donald Trump is the most important player in India and Pakistan. And it seems like it was because of Donald Trump that India and Pakistan came to this ceasefire agreement. But then, if I'm not mistaken, from the moment that Operation Sindoor was launched, our representative in Islamabad, India's representative in Islamabad, the charge d'affaires in Islamabad, was already in talks with through a back channel with Pakistan counterpart. So India never intended to go to war, right? So the moment it started operation, the charge d'affaires, the person in charge in Islamabad, India's charge d'affaires, was already in talks with Pakistan government indirectly. So that says that India was already trying to make sure that the situation won't escalate. But then what happened is that most Indian media did not pay attention to that, or they just neglected it. And that's why it is it is because of the Indian media that makes Donald Trump look like a hero. And he looks like a hero right now, right? Because for just imagine he's saying that India Kashmir issue has been um, has been going on for thousands of years, right? Which is not true, right? So I mean, so you can only see like how the Donald Trump is. And on the other hand, China also comes out winning because now everybody has seen the capabilities of China and what the Pakistan uses Chinese jet fighters and Chinese missiles. I think it is the PL-15 missiles and J-10C jet fighters produced by Chengdu Aircraft Company. So what happened is that now the Chinese, now all over the world, they've seen that I think more or less we can kind of confirm that that the Pakistan Air Force using the Chinese jet fighter and missiles have actually shot down the Rafale, India's the flagship jet fighter of India. The best jet fighter India has is shot down by Pakistan's best aircraft jet fighter. So it shows the world that now China is not only going ahead in terms of arms, but also even the quality of arms, the missiles, the jet fighters. So now almost all it is a very good advertisement for Chinese arms company. So if you look at it, the moment the news came that the PL or the J10 C jet fighter has shot down Rafale, the stock price of the Chengdu aircraft manufacturing company, it rose, right? So now the whole world is going to buy arms from China because they've seen the quality and the high tech quality of the Chinese arms. So if you look at it, that this present conflict between India and Pakistan, United States comes out looking like a hero. China has won in terms of its global reach of its arms, arms sales and whatnot. Yeah,
You have touched the topic of the Indian media.
yeah.
So yeah, we have seen the past few days
Yes,
how they were portraying
yes,
all
yes.
these things like Indian Army reached Islamabad,
Yeah.
Lahore, and all this. So what do you have to say on this?
Well, the Indian media is known for loudness. It's very loud. Like you don't even have to just look at Arnab. It's very loud. He only knows how to scream at others. So all the other mainstream India news channels have copied his style. If you watch any of the news, it's all dramatic. It's all very how do you call it? How do you call it? Very loud, loud, and then they they don't the mainstream Indian media don't have any fear regarding spreading of disinformation and misinformation. They were saying that that India has attacked Karachi, Islamabad. I mean, and people and the thing is that people actually believe that's true. And the reason why I'm saying this, the reason why it's a good thing that you brought up the Indian media is because, like I said at the beginning of this interview, that it's not the Indian Army. We cannot blame the Indian Army. We cannot blame the Indian Air Force. But who started this? Who decided that we are going to have this? We are going to have Operation Sindoor. It's the government, right? So the BJP government decided that we are going to have this. We are going to have this operation because our main target is no one else but the Indian audience, right? Our audience is not the world. We don't really care what the world thinks, but we are only going to focus in Indian audience. Why? Because Indian audience are Indian voters, right? Elections coming up. I think we discussed this in the last interview. Election big states are coming up. Very important states are coming up. Hence, our main audience is no one else but the Indian audience. That's why if you look at the Indian media, it sensationalized everything. It blows things out of proportion. It does not have any fear regarding spreading lies and misinformation. And the sad reality is that people in India, most people in India actually do believe those things. I think this was seen in 2019, I think. 2019 or 18, Balochistan strike. Right? It was a video game, but actually people believe that. There was actually an Indian Air Force who did all those damages. And because of that, remember, BJP won a thumping majority in that election, if you guys remember. Right? That was the thumping, because that was one of the main factors. So they're trying to play the same, the BJP is trying to play the same, narrative for its upcoming elections. And they are going to use this narrative. And the mainstream media, I think you guys also covered it in press day. Mainstream media is highly dependent on the government for its revenue. So they are going to be in the bandwagon of the government. Whatever the government says, it's going to do it. If you look at it, for example, even on tutors, even on big billboard hoarders, it is not the Indian army that you see in the posters of Operation Sindoor, but you see the Prime Minister wearing the Indian Air Force jumpers, and then behind me this Indian jet fighter. Yeah, it's not. But then instead of putting the Indian army who are in the front line or the Indian Air Force who are risking their lives, it is Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister. So it's like a slap. It's like an insult to our army. It's like an insult to our Air Force. But then most people in India actually would believe that and buy it.
So, sir, do you think that there is a need for more independent media?
There is, because the thing is, I'm shocked by the way, because India is known to be the mother of democracy, the largest democracy in the world, which is, I cannot say whether it's true or not, but then it claims to be. And hence you expect independent, strong independent journalism, news media as the fourth pillar. But now what we find in India and also in Nagaland is that all the powers that be are the ones who have captured all the media, right? All over India you find that, even in Nagaland there's no exceptions, right? We see that. So I think as long as there's no independent media, people will continue to be manipulated, knowingly or unknowingly. Sometimes knowingly they believe the lie. Sometimes, most of the time, people don't know who are behind the scenes. And people actually believe. So for instance, people will believe what they watch in Z News or NDTV or Times India Now, because they don't know who are behind those things, who are behind those channels. Same thing even in Nagaland also. People will watch various other news channels, but they don't know that there's a propaganda behind it. So the independent news media becomes very, very important in a democracy. So as long as you don't have any kind of independent media, then the information you get is questionable at best.
So regarding this Operation Sindoor, it's now on ceasefire.
Yeah.
But the recent statement which we came to know, Prime Minister said like until and unless this POK issue is solved, this is just a partial ceasefire.
Yeah.
Or one or the other thing he said, but regarding POK also.
The thing is, right now, because they realized that it backfired, Operation Sindoor in a sense, the consequences is that it's not very favorable in the eyes of the Indians, and hence they are trying to change. I think you see that even in main BJP. If you follow Twitter, the main Bharatiya Janata Party BJP, Bharatiya Janata Party. If you look at the BJP main Twitter handle, now they've changed the narrative from ceasefire to most of the important figures from BJP, they're saying it is just an understanding, not a ceasefire. So you see, now they are changing the word because now they want to come out looking good. Because now the Indian public are frustrated. Because they fooled the Indian public, right? They fooled the Indian, they fooled their own people. But then most people are now questioning, why is this so? And because they want to save their skin, they're saying it's not a ceasefire, it's an understanding. So understanding can be partial or what you can give whatever name you want to give. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to backtrack on what they're trying to do. Because right now, like I mentioned in the beginning of the interview, that the main audience was the voters, right? Was the voters. So for them, we'll just vote, we'll just go and attack the terrorist camp, and then for sure Pakistanis are going to attack, right? As a normal response, right? We're going to do that. But then what they did not see was that in doing the operation Sindoor, they expose one of the greatest Indian shortcomings: aircraft, jet fighters. The best jet fighter in India was shot down.
Are you sure?
I think if you look at, very good question. I think if you look at most of the evidence coming out now, I think more will be coming out later on. I think it is quite reasonable. There's a high plausibility. There's a high probability that the Rafael was shot down, because even some of the most reputable newspapers in the world, the Telegraph in UK, came out with a news piece.
Yeah, even in France.
Yes, even in France. Yes, you're right. So and remember, Rafael is made in France, the salt. So even they've come out with it, and even the salt team, the people from the salt company, even they came down to pick up the pieces. So there's a high probability that it was shot down. And all over the world, this is being only because the reason why only in India there is no clarity about whether Rafael was shot down was because of the mainstream media, number one. Second, India, being the mother of democracy, decided to close down more than 5,000 or 8,000 Twitter accounts, those who were questioning the government. They even closed down the website of The Wire, one of the most important independent journalism, which everybody should The Wire.
One news portal.
Yeah, because they were questioning, because they were facts were coming out which cannot be denied, right? And so the democratic government of India decided to close down those websites and Twitter handles. So I think that's one of the reasons. So I think you see that they've exposed themselves to the world, that India is not as powerful as it claimed to be. Because the thing is that for the past 10 years, it is what India is facing now. The criticism which the government is now facing, the scanner under which the government is now, is a consequence of the past 10 years. Because for the past 10 years, they've been fooling the people of India that, you see, India is the leader of the world. People fear India. Whenever you show Indian passport, people fear and tremble. They bow down India. But this operation have kind of showed that none of the world, all of this was just for domestic audience. Outside of India, nobody cares. So I think that's a big, setback for India. So it was kind of a strategic misfire for India.
So, sir, what do you think? What will be the conclusion?
The conclusion is that right now India has exposed itself that India is not as strong. India may have more jet fighters than Pakistan, more army than Pakistan, but then I think in terms of quality, India is still lacking. This is one of the key weaknesses that is being exposed right now. And that's why India, in a sense, also wanted to have ceasefire, but also because it made India realize that, we cannot go on like this, because our top of the line offensive weapon, which is the Rafale, did not, even if it worked, also not all the time. It's been shot down. So that was one thing. Second is that the Indian public is now beginning to question the government, right? Which is not good. That was never the intention, not the intention of those who planned it. Second, it makes the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force look weak. Not because they are. The Indian Army is ready, the Indian Air Force is ready, Indian Navy is ready. But then those who command, because as a democracy, the armed forces are under the command of the civilian. So those who command the civilian aspect, they need to be cautioned. Not only did they mess up in terms of internal security in Bahal, and that led to Pahalgam massacre, but now it is because of them that India is being exposed. Its weaknesses is being exposed. So now the people of India really has to question the ruling BJP government. Because one of the key thing about the present government is that the only legitimacy that they have is communalism, and to show the Indian audience inside that people in the world respect and fear India. But now this operation shows that nobody really fears or cares about what India is. And hence it also shows the lack of Indian diplomacy, right? You can look at the IMF bailout with Pakistan. So those are the things.
So, sir, one last question before we conclude. Since the start of this Operation Sindoor, the Baloch people, Balochistan, they started revolting against Pakistan, and they have captured one of the biggest city out there in Balochistan, and they have declared their independence. The day Operation Sindoor started. So, can you give us a bit of an idea, lastly, about Balochistan?
Well, the thing is, I cannot talk about whether they declared independence, the Balochistan, whether they declared independence or not, because unless it comes from a reliable source, we cannot discuss that. But then in terms of Balochistan, there are reports from international organizations and international think tanks where it shows that there's a plausible connection that Balochist separatist group are being supported by neighbors of Pakistan, the immediate neighbor of Pakistan. You can think of who that is, right? It's there. So, and the second thing is that in terms of Balochistan, I mean, it has always been one of the main criticism of Pakistan that because Pakistan, one of the main reasons why Pakistan say what it says is that because Pakistan claimed that India supports Balochistan separatist group, hence Pakistan also sees no wrong in supporting terrorist group against Indians. So you see, so that's the issue. So we already know that Pakistan, even the Pakistan Defense Minister Khawaja has already mentioned in Sky News that Pakistan has always supported terrorist groups. So now the issue is that is the claim made by Pakistan of India funding and supporting the Balochistan separatist group credible or not? It's up to the international community. But then there are credible evidence that states that Pakistan might be right, because there are some reports published by international institutions that says that that what Pakistan is saying about India is kind of credible. So those are the things. Yeah.
So thank you so much, sir. Ajubi and among your time there, ne? Akasa Gedubi regarding geopolitics and international issues. Uploaded Nega Kotako, time power.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So viewers, Koidia Nishnaicha, Serva Mihanga Balra, Bujai Dishay to issue law portibi, and on अलग अलग नेशनल हो इंटरनेशनल महान स्टेट लो इशू हंगर ने अपने हंगे ने महान न्यूज़ बुनाई दिखाई तो वो तो और ने अपने साइड में फोर्ट नागल न्यूज़ मरा मचुमी फॉर एफएनए